Okay, so serial April 2025. Let's go through the pictures from last month. Part ones are going to be two-part this month. And immediately we start with film. That's using Kodak Pro Image 100, one of my favorite films. I really like the tonalities. It's resistant to heat, to humidity. It's a really rough film that makes really subtle stuff. So yeah, and here it's with an Olympus LT-1 point-and-shoot camera. Really interesting camera with some kind of artificial leather folding cap on it. It was meant to be a design, choice in Japan at the time, and I wanted to use it for a long time. It's got a dateback. So here are two pictures taken with flash through glasses, obviously, and yeah, basically the daytime incrustation insertion works. So I'm going to use it for a future project, but really interesting camera. Here again, two pictures, the same equipment. That's the west coast of Iceland, but it's west part of Reykjavík. It was different. It's basically heading the same way, but different sun situations. Or here, it's definitely not the best camera in terms of autofocus, but it does do the job. It's a point and shoot, and it's got an interesting rendering, even so it's only f3.5 maximum aperture. On the right, we can see this tennis court under the snow. I'm flashing through a fence, and we have the shadows of the fence, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, a camera I'm going to go a little bit more through paces with, because I kind of am starting to enjoy it. Here that we're going to digital, that's the Minolta Dimage X camera. It's a really tiny camera from the early 2000s with a CCD sensor. I've got two of those, which I happen to have because they were really cheap. They were really those cheap digital cameras from the early 2000s. But the format was really small. It's got a zoom lens. So I'm trying to put it through its paces. And here it's one of those rare forests of Iceland. It's kind of east of Reykjavík. You see the grain is very weird. It's got some grain, but the lens is interesting. It's a joy to use, I must say so. Here with better lighting, we still have the grain and the low resolution characteristics, but works well. That's still the landscape west of Iceland. And it does this old school type of point and shoot photos with flash. It's got a real flash, as you can see on the left here. That was an art performance from the art schools on design days in Reykjavík in a supermarket by night. Or on the right, those sensors don't really have a huge dynamic range, and as you can see, the sky is burnt, but you still get some interesting results. And I think Minolta had really, before its fusion into Sony, had really a know-how on how to make great cameras, great interfaces. I would really love to see more of those small cameras come out. Here, same camera with better lighting conditions. The tele lens is really nice when you zoom forwards. Details of the city of Reykjavík. And with the flash on the left, I basically hadn't emptied this memory card for probably 2 years. So those are details from a light fixture I took 2 years ago, using the flash on the left without the flash. Really interesting grain. The sensor is interesting, and the lens, yeah, I'm going to use more of this camera and do a specific video about it. Going to something else, that's going back to my main camera, the Leica SL2 47 megapixel L mount, on which you can adapt APS-C lenses. So I wanted to try that for a long time, and because they're kind of cheap, they're not very well known. That's a TTArtisan 25mm f2. And you still have 24 megapixel when you use them like this. It definitely doesn't cover the whole full frame of the camera, but that's what it does when you put it in APS-C mode. And I think it's really interesting. Lots of character with this lens. We're back in those rare forests of Iceland with some more details. The color rendition, the detail, the bokeh, there's some vignetting, but works really well. I'm kind of really enjoying that lens, and I've been putting it through its paces for the last few months. Here, details in Switzerland, that's State of Vaud. Small detail, as you can see, really in the center of the lens is really nice. It gets a little bit mushy in the periphery, but it's got character, kind of an old school character. Or here, the Romain Moutier Abbaye on the right. It's still the same Swiss state in the west, the French part of Switzerland, and a detail of a small shack in the same region. Really interesting setup. I would recommend using those APS-C lenses if you can find them cheap. Going to something else, a really subcompact, even smaller than the Dimage Minolta camera I talked about before. That's a DXO One. I've already shown some pictures in the past. 1-inch sensor, really great lens. It wasn't really a commercial success, but I got one. It's really very decent. I really enjoy using its tiny black and white screen in the back to kind of frame and have the surprise of what photos I took after, because the sensor is pretty good. Everything's pretty good on it. Pretty good dynamic range. As we can see here in low lights, there's some noise, but it's well contained. It's got some character. Those are details from Reykjavík. Or here, again, I did a dual photo. Basically, once I'm looking one side and taking the photo on the other side at the same time. Basically, here I do it manually, but it's one of those 1980s mall in Iceland. I think it's an interesting camera because nobody thinks you're taking photos with a camera. It doesn't look like one. You can adapt it to a phone if you have the right connector and set up a few technical details, but you still have a touchscreen. Really nice camera to experiment with. Going back to film, that's my first roll of Harman Red film. It's a 125 ISO film, experimental. Very sensitive to reds, not very sensitive to blues. I would recommend you going on the Harman website to check the diagrams. It's really a weird film. But I used it here with the same camera as before, the Olympus LT-1. And yeah, that's London, the Thames River. I kind of really like the colors, what comes out of it. Here, 2 details of the streets of Reykjavík. Goes definitely into the red sides of things. The color balance is pretty bad if you want to be objective, but it's pretty good, I think, artistically speaking. And here in low light with flash, you really get some blues and greens that are really strange. I do really like that film, and even so it was a first roll. I'm going to go through its paces quite a bit before releasing a video about it, but that's where I think it excels most. Was with those 2 pictures. That's London City. Actually, you have the same building. You can recognize it on left and right. Different lighting conditions. You really get some interesting stuff out of this film, and I'm looking forward to see if it's controllable and manageable. With the LT-1, it's point and shoots. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I think came out pretty fun, pretty awesome film. So looking forward to put it in a more controllable camera and go a little bit further. And here's the last picture with this film for this part of this month. That's in Copenhagen. When you don't have as much red, you do get more details into other channels. And yeah, I think it's an interesting film. Go for it if you want to have fun. And one last camera for this first part of the month, the Minolta Riva Panorama using Portra 800 film from Kodak. That's a camera I've had for years. I've used it in the past. It's a weird camera because it actually masks the upper part and the lower part of your 35mm film. So you lose a lot of the surface of this really expensive film. But it's got a really interesting lens, very panoramic lens. It forces you with this format, and actually it's a joy to use. The ergonomy is great. I will do a video about it. You don't have much to set up. It's a great camera. And it's here, for example, that's the west coast of Reykjavík. Here's a tube in London, detailed in low lights. It's fully automatic, so you don't do much. You can just turn off the flash or turn it on. Here, that's the Geneva Bay, basically the Geneva Rad. Again, looking at the same fountain, but with sunset. Or back in London, here was the Thames and Tower Bridge. Basically, I think it's an interesting camera that I would highly recommend if you find one. They're hard to find, but Anyways, I hope that was entertaining. If you have questions, comments, suggestions, as always, don't hesitate. And catch you next time.